14 state mass vaccination sites, which are the highest throughput sites. If you ask for what are the single most effective, the mass vaccination sites have the highest throughput. We also have 6 mass vaccination sites in partnership with the federal government. 52 churches across the state are now doing vaccinations. We're opening 16 new pop-up sites across the state this week, including 8 new church sites, new pop-up sites, 8 in New York City, 2 on Long Island, 2 in the Hudson Valley, 1 in Saratoga Springs, 1 in Geneva, 1 in Buffalo, 1 in Wellsville. They should do 5,200 shots, those pop-up centers. People can sign up for an appointment today, ny.gov/vaccine, or call 1-833 New York State number 4 VAX. Reopening. Today we're announcing that effective this Monday, March 22nd, the final 5 yellow zone clusters will be lifted. So all clusters will be lifted. The remaining clusters are in the East Bronx, West Bronx, Manhattan, Newburgh, New Windsor, Queens, Kew Gardens, Forest Hills. That means any specific restrictions in those locations that had been in place will be lifted and now will fall in line with overall state guidance. But that means all the clusters will be lifted on reopening. Indoor fitness classes will be reopening. That's primarily in New York City on Monday, March 22nd. Gyms were open, but indoor fitness classes were not open, and that caused a certain amount of consternation. They will open Monday, March 22nd. They will also be subject to the protocols that have been in place all across the state. 33% capacity, sign in with contact information. They schedule the classes to allow cleaning, disinfection, mask, social distancing, shared equipment cleaned. Local health department shall inspect. Curfews on reopening. We're announcing that starting April 5, the 11 p.m. curfew currently in place for casinos, movie theaters, bowling alleys, billiard halls, gyms, and fitness centers will be lifted. The 11 p.m. curfew will be lifted. The 11 p.m. curfew for food and beverage establishments and the 12 a.m. curfew for catered events will remain in effect for the time being. We're evaluating both now, and we will have an announcement on them in April. Third piece of business is the budget. The budget is more important this year than any budget that we have done, and frankly, it's more complicated than any budget that we have done. The federal government has provided significant funding. The federal funding is the ultimate, what we would call one shot. A one shot is non-recurring revenue. It's a one-time installment. The trick with one shots is that they don't recur. So whatever you fund with a one shot, then by definition, once that one shot is exhausted, there's no funding for that activity. The one shots create what we call a cliff, raises spending to a very high basis, but for a very short period of time, and right after that spending, you hit a cliff, and it's a long way down to the bottom. It's also complicated because there are revenue increases, and the federal government also rumored to propose, revenue increases, many in the same area that we're talking about. So we would do a tax increase, and then the federal government in several weeks may also announce that tax increase nationwide. So trying to anticipate what the federal government is going to do and then align it with what the state is going to do is complicated. So it's complicated. Conversations are ongoing, but there's a long way from here to there. And as I said, there are more dimensions to this budget than normal. Normally, you only have state revenue. What did you need? What did you raise? What do you want to fund? This has an entire overlay of the federal government funding, and then an overlay of the federal government's future tax actions, which the Biden administration is talking about for their infrastructure bill, to fund their infrastructure funding. So it's complicated. Everyone is talking, and we're trying to work our way through it. But those are the three focuses. The vaccines, where this is going to accelerate very quickly. The Biden administration did a great job of securing more vaccines, but the allocation to the state increases dramatically in a very short period of time. So we're going to have to do millions and millions of doses in a very short period of time. They want to increase eligibility for everyone in May. That would make 15 million New Yorkers eligible. We have only fully vaccinated about 2 million New Yorkers, fully vaccinated. Even let's call it 3. But you'd be going from 3 million to 15 eligible, which means you'd have 12 million people eligible who haven't received the vaccine, and then a tremendous allocation coming in very quickly. So this is a logistical nightmare for the state to perform on the vaccine side. On the vaccine side, you also have the equity component where hesitancy, lack of trust, access, we want to make sure it's done fairly. So that's an added complication. But that's job one. Job two is we have to get the budget done, and that's extraordinarily complicated. And job three, reopen, and reopen with energy and optimism. And with a real sense of progress that people can see, so they have confidence in New York. New York is taking a beating during COVID. It's important that people, businesses, have confidence in New York. We have serious issues. It's not just COVID. COVID created a number of ancillary issues. We have a tremendous public safety issue. We have a crime problem. Again, I remind local governments, April 1, they, I've been saying for a year, must have their new public safety plan in place, done in collaboration with the community. So public safety, you don't often think of public safety as a reopening issue, but public safety, crime is a major priority for people in making decisions whether they want to stay in a community or not. And gauging the reopening with COVID, curfews, etc., that's an ongoing process, and we've been continuing that. Restaurants opening, etc. So those are the three tasks I'm focused on. Reopening, vaccination, and getting the budget done. Any questions on the Assembly announced a law firm to conduct their review I am not going to take any questions or have any comments on the review at this time. Let the lawyers do their job and let them conduct the review. And then we can talk about it when we have facts established or a specific situation relative to the review. But other than that, I'm going to respect the review, and I won't comment on it or related matters. Let's take questions, please, operator.
Sure, and as a reminder, to ask a question, you will need to press *1 on your telephone. To withdraw your question, press the # key. Please stand by while we compile the Q&A roster. Your first question comes from the line of John Campbell of USA Today Network.
Hey, John.
Hi, Governor. I wanted to ask specifically about the accusations you face from Charlotte Bennett. She says that you asked her if she's ever been with an older man. She says you asked her if you practiced monogamy. She says that you yourself said you were open to a relationship with a woman in her 20s. Did any of that happen?
John, as I said, the Assembly has a review going on just the questions you asked and questions like it. And I'm going to respect the review, and I won't comment on issues that are subject to the review. Okay? Next question, operator.
Again, to ask a question, please press *1 on your telephone. And your next question comes from the line of Marcia Kramer of CBS.
Governor, I know that you don't want to talk about the specifics of the probe, but I wonder what your reaction was to President Biden saying that you could face prosecution. And secondly, I wonder what your reaction is to the Siena poll where people said they didn't want you to resign.
I don't think that's what President Biden said, Marcia. His words will speak for itself, but I don't think he said what the way you paraphrased it. On the Siena poll, I think that's what I'm hearing from New Yorkers. I have a job to do. They want me to do the job. They're concerned about COVID. They're concerned about vaccines. They're concerned about reopening. And they believe in due process that allegations are not guilt. So figure out the facts before you make a conclusion. And that's also common sense. Next question, operator.
Mm-hmm. Your next question comes from the line of Ann Thompson of NBC News.
Hi, Governor. Thank you for doing this call. Let me read to you what President Biden said. And he was asked by George Stephanopoulos if the investigation confirms the claims of the women, should he resign? And the president said, yes, I think he probably could end up being prosecuted too. What's your reaction to that?
Well, if you committed a crime, you can be prosecuted. That's true. But what President Biden said was we should do an investigation. The question to President Biden starts with, do you think the governor should resign, or do you think there should be a review first? And the president said there should be a review. I agree with him on that. The people of New York agree with him on that. People of New York in the poll that's Marcia was mentioning, the Siena poll said 50 to 35 or something like that, that I should not resign. 35 said I should resign. By the way, 35% would say I should resign. Anyway, 35% there's always been 35% against me just on the normal political spectrum. So President Biden's position is consistent with New Yorkers' position, is consistent with the Siena poll position, is consistent with my position. I'm not going to resign, find out the facts, and we'll take it from there. Let's take one more, operator.
Your next question comes from the line of Gwyn Hogan from WNYC.
Hey, Governor, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi there. Thanks for taking my call. Can you explain to New Yorkers why your administration leaked Lindsey Boylan's personnel records and reportedly circulated a letter trying to gain signatures from former staffers claiming she was backed by Donald Trump supporters after she alleged sexual harassment by you?
That is, Ms. Boylan is one of the issues that is going to be reviewed by the Assembly and the Attorney General, and I want them to do their review and let them determine the facts, and then we'll take it from there. Right? You need to know facts. Now, we could either debate facts in the media, or we could let fact finders find facts and then have an intelligent conversation on an agreed to set of facts rather than have competing facts. That's why a fact-finding exercise is right. Find out the facts and then develop an opinion, but have the facts first. And that's what New Yorkers said they want. That's what the Assembly is doing. That's what the Attorney General is doing. So let's find out the facts, and then we all can have an opinion and comment on the facts once we know the facts. But I'm not going to comment until those reviews are finished on any specific issue that they're looking at. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Back to work. A lot to do. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's conference call. Thank you for participating. You may now disconnect.